Welcome to Senior Moment with Nurse Linda. The nurse is in on STR Network, the future of internet, radio, and TV today. This is Dr. Charles Campbell, and this lovely lady is Nurse Linda. And this is October.
Yes.
And what's October for? It's something breast month.
National Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
I knew that.
Yes.
But I had to get you to say it.
Pink.
And
Everybody
men-
should be in pink. And I apologize. I've got pink flowers on, so next week I'll be in a different pink next
I'm
week.
blushing, I'm pink.
There you go. It works.
And men can get breast cancer
Yes.
too.
Yep. We're going to talk a little bit about the incidence of breast cancer, but we really want to make people aware of it. So that this week and next week, we're actually going to be looking at various aspects of breast cancer. Incidence, risk, symptoms, screening, treatments, all kinds of different things. This first week, actually, the first segment like this, I really want to scare people. And I want to bring it up to the statistics of breast cancer and how dangerous it is, yet how curable and treatable it is.
Well, I got scared reading your notes.
Breast cancer is the 5th leading cause of death amongst women.
The 5th.
The 5th, and that falls behind heart disease, stroke, lung cancer, and other lung-related diseases. 5th leading cause. And that's the sad part about that is this is a very curable and treatable condition if it's caught early, and that's what we want to try to do is educate people related to that. That's for women. Every 100 cases of diagnosed breast cancer, less than 1 is a male. By one set of statistics I found, the other said male breast cancer is clearly 1% of the population.
That's scary as well.
It is. Men do not think of themselves. When I go in and give talks to groups, the first thing I do is I say, everyone with a breast, raise their hand. And of course, all the women do, and the men sit there with their arms crossed. I said, no, sorry guys, pick them up. Okay, you got them the same way. They look different, but they're the same. It's typical same type of breast tissue. It's the same. It's just they're not as big. Lumps in men tend to be ignored because men don't think they can get it. In my lifetime, I've treated 4 men with breast cancer.
Really?
Okay, and that's huge compared to what some nurses never see a man with breast cancer. We had 4. So absolutely. 12.4% of women in the United States will develop breast cancer. And that's according to the National Institutes of Health in data they compiled between 2007 and 2009. So by now that may have changed a little bit. But 12.4%, considering population, that's huge. And that's a lot of people. And people fall into one of a number of categories. Either you will develop breast cancer, someone in your family will, or you will know someone else outside of your family who has developed it.
Well, I've never heard of anybody, guy, that had breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently no sports or figure or politician or anybody who the public has an interest in has had breast cancer.
Or that they've owned up to.
Oh, that's it.
So that's the other piece of it. But in 2011, predictions were that 290,000 new cases of breast cancer will have been diagnosed. And that's, again, we don't have 2011 statistics totally compiled yet, but that was predicted in 2009, that's what we would be looking at. Of that, about 39,520 they were predicting will die of breast cancer.
Because it was not discovered soon enough.
Yes.
Or it was
Yes.
ignored.
It was ignored, or appropriate treatment wasn't found. And yes, there, like all diseases, there are some cases that just defy the odds, and you cannot cure it, but you can manage it for a very long period of time. You can manage the symptoms, you can manage the disease. So there's different approaches to this. Also, it was predicted in 2011 that roughly 2,140 cases of male breast cancer would have been diagnosed.
240?
2,140.
2,000.
And of that, 450 will have died. Huge statistics. Huge. Clearly almost 25%. And again, it's because people aren't talking about it. They're not getting follow-up as they need to. In my personal experience, I had a very intelligent young woman. She was early 30s, who found a breast lump, did not deal with it because she was afraid her husband would not be able to handle it. And it became a very complicated diagnosis, complicated treatment. There was nothing they could do at the time it was finally diagnosed. And she died at 34. It wasn't necessary, all because she was concerned how her husband might feel about her being diagnosed with that. It didn't change the diagnosis.
No.
You know, it was so sad, and we did everything we could, but it was difficult. The good news is, here's the positive part. In 2008, there were approximately 2.6 million women living with a history of breast cancer, most of whom were cancer-free at 10 years.
After treated.
After they were being treated, because it was found early. Okay, 2.6 million women living with a history of breast cancer, not active disease. Some still had active disease and were still undergoing treatment. But most of those had no signs of disease at 10 years.
That's good.
Very good. And that shows that we're diagnosing cancers correctly, they're being treated appropriately, people are following up the way they should. The one important thing to remember is the incident and death rates increase with age. The older you get, the more likely you are to get breast cancer. And that's just a part of aging. You can develop cancer anywhere in your body the older you get, which is why we have all these wonderful screening tools.
Well, more cancer appears, people have more cancer because they're living longer and they're finding more cancer.
Yes, because the cells in our body continue to divide even as we age. Are they dividing appropriately or not? And we can take another show and go into how cancer develops, because that's a very interesting topic to understand. But those over 40 years of age comprise 95% of new cases diagnosed over 40 years of age. Yes, women of a very young age, women in their 20s and 30s, can be diagnosed with breast cancer.
Is it genetic?
It can be, and we're going to kind of go into that in the next segment, so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Women over 40 years also comprise 97% of the deaths from breast cancer. But again, that's because of the lack of diagnosis. And the rates are highest among non-Hispanic white women.
Hey, they're talking about you.
Talking about me. It's not a good statistic to be. But we go back to, and we're going to be talking more about in our future shows, the importance of understanding these things and getting appropriate care, asking the right questions of your doctor. Make sure your doctor's recommending to you what you need to have done.
Okay, what's coming up in our next segment?
We're going to talk about the risk factors.
The risk factor.
Yes, what puts you at risk for breast cancer?
What are we going to talk about? Self-exam and stuff.
That will be next week.
Next week.
Yes, absolutely.
You're listening to Senior Moment with Nurse Linda. We're talking about breast cancer and what to do about it on STR Network. We'll be back after this.